right, guys, welcome back to episode 14 of the JEB Board podcast. This is Grayson Applin here in Atlanta, Georgia, along with me. We've got the full crew this week. We got the Lumberjack, Nick Noah, Cheese Brain, Kyle Overhart, the 28-3 denier, Brandon Black, and the Bounty Gate was just a way for them to play harder, Caleb Naylor.
They need to bring Bounty Gate back.
After this week.
Something's got to change. Something's got to change in New Orleans.
Yeah,
it was hard to prepare a quarterback when they don't know the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Have y'all? So I told y'all yesterday, but for everybody listening, I actually went to the game yesterday. Actually, got a hold of a ticket and went, and I was like, "This is a perfect game." I was like, "It's BB's favorite team. It's Kayla's favorite team." I was like, "I have, for lack of better terms, no dog in the fight." So I am going to sit here and just let the chaos happen. And I was sitting there watching it. And it was like you had the pick six from Derek Carr, and then you had the two interceptions from Desmond Ridder. And I was just like, wow, this is bad football. This is really bad football. And on top of everything, like the piece de resistance was when they hung Ludacris from the rafters like he was a paratrooper that got caught in a tree branch. That was like the best part of that whole entire game because he like never touched the ground.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, that was not good football. So I'm trying to get BB to come over here in 2 weeks when the Bucks play the Falcons December 10th. And no. All right. Well,
let me know when somebody wants to go to
it's-
LA with me to go see the Chargers. So
yeah. Well, we got to go to Vegas first. We got to go see that. We got to go see the McGregor fight.
Brother, I will not leave. I will be good. I will go out on my shield.
Gonna be one of the Cedar people that down there.
Yeah, and that never leaves. Yeah. I don't think my body can take a Vegas trip. Maybe a couple years ago, but
I like your odds because I don't think Andy Gator has distribution past the west side of Mississippi.
Brother, there are things worse than Andy Gator. That is the least. Andy Gator is a safe bet.
I feel like if Nick went to Vegas, I could see him like on The Last of Us, the TV show, when the zombies or whatever like melded to the wall and there's roots. Like that would be like Nick on the inside of a casino. He would just be like becoming one with the actual casino itself.
He turns into a slot machine.
He's might be working there because he's running out of money.
The problem would be it would be like day 3 in the casino of just live betting, these Ukrainian rugby league games, and it would eventually get to a point where I'd see enough feed that with no sleep, I'd just stab somebody and we'd just kind of end the trip there.
Nick would be over there betting on a deaf spelling bee.
We'd have to change. We would have if he stayed in Las Vegas, we would have to change his name from Andy Gator Nick Noah to allegedly Nick Noah.
I haven't missed a podcast yet, but that can change.
Oh, well, all right, guys. Let's get into our highlights and lowlights for this week. The big highlight, which I mean, this was kind of like the play of the weekend, was the ending to the Alabama game. Obviously, we talked about a couple weeks ago when Alabama was playing LSU, and the fourth quarter of that game was just a bust because Jaden Daniels got hurt and ended up, just kind of that atmosphere was, there was nothing. Well, it was the exact opposite in Jordan Hare this past weekend. Bama and Auburn came down to the wire. Obviously, I mean, most everybody knows how the game went. If you don't know, it was 4th and 31. It was 4th and goal from the 31 for Bama with, less than 30 seconds to go. Jalen Milroe threw up a prayer, and Isaiah Bond just caught it in the corner of the end zone, got a foot down, and they went up and ended up winning the game because Auburn couldn't do anything on offense. So great play, great ending to a game. That's the story of Auburn's season so far. So yeah, but it was a really good ending to a game.
On that note, kind of like categorizing that entire moment as sort of symbolic of Auburn's entire season. I think, the fact that it was a muffed punt that led to it Like Auburn controlled the ball game up to that muffed punt. Once they messed that up, that's what set it all up. And Isaiah Bond, unfortunately for Auburn, Isaiah Bond came down with the clutchest catch of the day.
Yeah. Well, and I'm definitely not this fan. I've talked about it with a couple people, but I'm not this kind of fan. And I'm not going to say it for one side or the other, but the officiating was atrocious on both sides. I mean, when you have
face mask ball.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn had 3 people in motion, and that is definitely an illegal shift. So I don't really know.
It almost felt like the refs were scared to call the game because they didn't want backlash from either side.
I'm pretty sure that
results in backlash in both.
Well, it should have been a safety too.
And that scuffle that happened on that muffed punt, what the hell was up with that? Like, I think that only preaches to Nick's point. Like, any other game in the nation happening at that time, there would have been just a sea of flags thrown on the field.
At least 5 people ejected. At least, and nobody got ejected. And they were showing replays of punches being thrown. What college game have you not seen with a flag thrown on that?
It just means more.
I guess so. I mean, like there must have been an over/under in the referee room for flags thrown, and they were trying to hit the under for sure. Our second highlight is an NFL team that we're going to talk about real quick that has kind of turned things around, guys. The Denver Broncos. Are the Broncos good?
Hot, man. They're hot at the right time.
Hot. They're getting hot.
They are 6-5.
Yeah. And dude, they got an easy schedule to finish off the year. If they keep playing, like Russ isn't playing to make the plays, he's playing to get the first down. And it's changed it where he's not throwing interceptions, and that's just been a huge change to that offense, helping them win games that way.
Yeah. Well, one thing we have to take into consideration is they are on a 5-game win streak. They started off the season 1-5, with their only win being to the Bears in week 4. And you got to take into consideration who they lost to. They lost to the Raiders. They lost to the Commanders. They lost to the Jets, and then of course the Chiefs as well. And they were also the victim of a slaughter by the Dolphins. But they have really turned things around and won 5 straight against 2 of those teams being the Chiefs and the Bills. So, and then looking at their schedule, you've got a game that we'll actually talk about here in a little bit. They've got the Texans next week, or this week. They've got the Chargers twice. They've got the Lions. They've got the Patriots, and they've got the Raiders. So right there, out of the last 6 games, they could easily have 3 wins and finish 9-8, possibly better.
I think they're going to be one of those teams that somehow squeak into the playoffs because I think they win. I think, let's see. So, I think they can make the playoffs, and then they're going to basically give the number 2 seeded team in the AFC a bye because it's going to be bad. But no, they are. I mean, they're finding ways to win. They're not playing pretty. The stats are atrocious, but again, they're somehow their defense is the big part that stepped up. The offense is playing about the same. Their defense is what's been the big game changer for them.
Well, what would Sean Payton be without sloppy play that gets you wins, though?
Yeah, I mean, and going to Nick's point too. I mean, over their past 5 wins, they've scored 19 points, 24 points, 24 points, 21 points, and 29 points. And they scored 29 against the Browns. So, yeah, their offense is has not really fluctuated any. But their defense is what's kind of stepping up. Their defense honestly looks like a bend don't break defense. They've allowed 17, 9, 24, 20, and 12. So it's like they're limiting these teams to scoring touchdowns. I mean, even if they're giving up field goals, I mean, they're limiting the touchdowns and allowing their offense to score only 3 or 4 times a game and get the win. Well, and finally, with our last highlight, this is for all of our wrestling fans, which really mainly in this group consists of me, Kyle, and half of BB. CM Punk returned to War Games last night, and let me tell you, like I told you guys before the podcast started, my like pregame ritual today consisted of the plot to bomb the Panhandle by Day to Remember, and then 8 reruns of CM Punk returning to WWE. It was electric. There is no in wrestling, there is no better combination that I think than CM Punk and any pay-per-view in Chicago.
Yep. Yeah. And going off that, it's hard to put on a perfect pay-per-view, but man, that was the closest you could ever get. I mean, even the theme song for the pay-per-view, you had War Pigs, just amazing. And you go through these like awesome matches, the woman's war game, old girl jumped off the top of the cage with a trash can on.
Yeah.
I mean, RKO off a 10-foot RKO, someone pushed into Randy Orton, amazing. And then, the show's closing out and they're zooming out. Michael Cole just said, "All right, have a good night, everybody." So your hopes are done. Like, yeah, he's not coming back. Like, I almost turned off the TV. I'm sure about 10% turned off the TV. And then the music hit and that place exploded, man. I just went crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, he spent a little bit of time in AEW over the past 2 or 3 years, and I think he got into a little bit of what he did. Yeah, drama. Because he is a vet and he wanted to be like one of the guys that was kind of leading everything. And I mean, me and our Eagles consultant Dalton talk about this all the time. It's like AEW is kind of like a big indie show with not necessarily like hard timing, and everybody needs to get their stuff in, which is great. I mean, it's good because these guys that made their stuff on the indies, they need to get their stuff in because that's their stuff. It's not the WWE style of production. But in the same token, with Punk coming from the WWE and being on top of the WWE and going there, I think that caused some issues because it was run less of like the formal business of wrestling. And I mean, I think him going back to WWE is just going to generate so much money for them. It's going to be insane.
They had 78 million views on YouTube.
That is return. Wow.
In 24 hours.
And I'm 8 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just insane.
So, well, going to our lowlights for the week. Our first one is quite honestly hilarious. For everybody didn't see it, Oklahoma had their run out for their game this past week against Oklahoma State, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and they had like 6 players run out, and then nobody else ran out of the smoke. Well, it was because
Brett Venables got completely trampled by his entire football team and still managed to survive.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he said something along the lines of that too. He said, like, I don't know how I made it or something like that.
I think in like one of his public comments on it, or one of the ones I saw, he said he was just talking about how I knew I wasn't going to die, but it was in my mind that I could die. And then he said, but by the time it was all over and I got up, I was just pissed.
Yeah. Well, he was getting trampled by basically
some of their players were not holding back on their kids when they were going over.
So he basically got trampled by cattle, and then on top of that too, you've got the smoke, so he's getting smothered at the bottom of the pile. So it's like, come on, like, yeah, I don't know whose idea that was, but
I can't see shit out of this thing. Is that bad?
I honestly don't think. I honestly would be surprised if we saw smoke in the Sooner run out in the future.
Yeah,
that almost was fun, more fun to watch than when the Sooner schooner took a hard left, toppled over, and tossed out all of their cheerleaders.
Well, it looked like piss poor planning too, because it looked like when the smoke was being let out, like it was blowing number one in, but it wasn't moving. It was like moving and funneling forward, and it was all staying together. So it was like you couldn't see anything. So God forbid, like a small child or a cheerleader walked in front of them.
Vape God venerable.
Our second highlight is as a coach this week, and I'm sure Kyle will have plenty of things to say. It's Ryan Day, and it's the fact that a lot of people are calling for Ryan Day's head right now, and they were like, he's got a great record, but there's two glaring things on his resume so far at Ohio State. It's number one, he's 1-3 against in the college football playoff, and number two, he's 1-3 with those 3 losses being the past 3 years against Michigan.
3 straight too, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The last 3 years. Yeah.
As
Has
I told
he called you
last,
at all this week, Kyle?
No, he's too scared. Hiding like a little bitch. As I said last night, at either of those schools, you can lose every other game, but if you beat Michigan or Ohio State, you saved your coaching job for one more year. He is 57-7, and they're probably going to fire him. And I mean, so this goes even deeper. You think about this whole offseason with the cheating scandal in Michigan, and everyone knows he played a part. Everyone knows he did something with the investigation. He can deny it, blah, blah, blah. And you still lose to an assistant coach.
Yeah. That's big. That's the thing is, and I know, not to throw shade on our picks, but if you look back at, we as a majority, it was 3-2, but as a majority, we picked Ohio State last week, mainly because of the whole coaching situation. And Michigan got the win. It was a good game, but in the same token, it's like Michigan got the win without their head ball coach on the sideline.
I tell you, go ahead, Nick.
Not cool.
All right, so I was gonna say, I'll tell you what
angry.
though. We're talking about like pregame stuff with Brett Venables. I'm pretty sure Ryan Day would rather be Brett Venables getting trampled by the entire Ohio State football team than having lost after doing the most cringy pregame hype up session where he's just shoving all of the Ohio State players, and you just see this little midget of a man just pushing up on this humongous D1 athlete, and they're not even budging. It is so cringy, and I've watched it so many times cycled to different funny music. So yeah, I think he wishes he had been trampled this year.
Hey, Caleb, you can't say midget, right?
Oh, I can't?
No, you can't.
Only we can say that.
Yeah. There.
Oh.
Cut
it.
Another ripple. Nick, leave it. So, our third low light for this week is going to be Louisville, and the reason why is because, however slim it was, Louisville still technically, and yes, I know I'm saying Louisville and not Louisville, because apparently if you say Louisville, it's wrong according to people from there.
Yeah.
So however the hell you pronounce it,
Kentucky.
they had a shot, however slim it was, to still get in the college football playoff. I know it was very, very, very slim. All they had to do was win the ACC championship, right? Well, they couldn't get past Kentucky this week. So now that shot's gone. It's out the window. They're not going to let it. A 2-loss team is not getting in the college football playoff this year by no means. So Louisville just kind of shot themselves in the foot by losing to their basketball rival school, Kentucky.
They're still the chosen one, though. They have the power to make this college football playoff far more interesting than it's currently going to be.
They do.
I think it's more interesting if they would lose. I wasn't here last week, so I can't go into it too much. Sorry.
It's fair.
What?
Kyle,
Oh, no, hold on.
So
You're right.
people are arguing right now because if they're on their third string, they don't deserve to be in.
who are you talking about? Louisville?
Florida State.
Oh, it's my Florida
Florida
State.
State. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sources. I need sources.
Well,
Me.
I'll give you a source right now. And my source is Tommy Wayne Applin. He made a real point. I know I'm sorry, I'm trying to adjust my hat, my head position, but he made a really good point. This past week is it right? Which I don't think it is, but is it right to penalize a team for a player getting hurt when they win?
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, no. I say no because Cardell Jones won the national championship.
Exactly.
Like, what was
Great
that?
point.
2016? Wasn't that 2016? Whenever Ohio State beat
That's
Alabama in the
2015.
national championship,
Yeah.
2015.
Whatever it was.
Cardell Jones' first start, I believe, was the Big Ten championship.
Mhm.
Like,
Didn't
yeah.
Tua come in as a backup and win
that
the
was
national
that was
championship?
years later.
Yeah,
well,
but
yeah,
Joe
he
wasn't hurt.
did
Came
come
in
in.
for
Yeah,
half.
you're right though. You're right.
He
To
came in
the
for
point.
a half.
Yeah.
But still
went
back.
through the entire playoffs.
I know. But what I'm saying is, I think Florida State should get in if they win out. I
Okay.
I would love
Okay.
to see
Yeah.
the controversy.
Fair.
That's right. Yeah.
Make
That's
it
what I
make
thought.
sense.
Yeah. We did that last week. We're not doing that again this week. we're not going to go through that. We're not going to do a circle. We can do it on an episode of going in a circle, but we can't do it week to week circles.
If we
Okay.
had a 64-man playoff,
Oh,
who's
Stay with.
Nick, do you still think the Bills are going to win this week?
yes, they should have won this last game,
Yeah, they blew it.
but Matt Gay sucks.
So now it's time for the fun part of the episode. The uncivil debate. And so our topic this week is actually going to be who we think is our derailed hype train team in college football. And to go into a little bit of detail what we mean by a derailed hype train, we mean a team that had so much hype, was getting so much clout from whoever, be it ESPN, the analysts, the dirt sheets, whoever, saying that they're going to be a great team, and then they just fell flat. So we will start with Caleb, because honestly, I think Caleb probably has the most glaring, obvious one. But Caleb, who is your derailed hype train this year?
One moment.
This is good podcasting.
I feel like we need to play elevator music now.
You see my bottle of wine collection behind me now?
I wonder if I can
Now
kick him
play
off.
my theme music.
Oh my god. We didn't
All
play
right.
your music.
So my first derailed hype train is the Colorado Buffaloes. They, us on this podcast were very high on them.
I was going to do something, but I had second thoughts.
Some people even had them picked to go into the college football playoff. So, just so you know, I mean, all the stories were a buzz on. Everybody was out on Deion Sanders. Honestly, I think you could have made an argument that they were underhyped at one point earlier in the year because everybody was reacting to all the news of all of the transfers coming out of Colorado. They were reacting to a bunch of the decommits that had happened earlier in the year, closer to when Deion Sanders got announced as the head coach. And when you look at it to date, they've had 57 outgoing transfers for 2023, for all of 2023. 51 incoming transfers. Kind of balances itself out. Now, when you look at one of their latest decommits, it actually just happened 6 hours ago from this article I'm reading. Danny O'Neal, who was an Elite 11 quarterback being recruited to Colorado, decommitted, announced his decommit. And then, so they start off the season. When the season starts off, it's pretty good. And, we're all hyping up Colorado. We're all enamored with Shadir Sanders. Shadir Sanders has had a really, really good season. Honestly, when you look at it statistically, he's still a good quarterback. But I think the hype, they overhyped themselves with all of the NIL branding. Are you okay, Grayson?
I can't stop laughing at you right now. I'm sorry.
The hat.
All right.
I love the hat.
Thank you. And so with the I'll take the hat off if that'll make me be taken seriously as a sports
Just finish
journalist.
the segment, please.
So basically, I think when you look at how the Colorado football team, even myself, I said if they only lose 3 games this year, I think you make Deion Sanders coach of the year. I don't think there's much of a debate, but they have lost more than 3 games. But in addition to that, we look at some of these NIL deals, and I think Colorado has accidentally made themselves the poster child of how NIL can really kind of take away from the game. Because if you look at it, and this is all coming from 1nil.com, and Shadur Sanders' NIL valuation is $4.4 million. To compare that with another quarterback, a much worse quarterback, I'll say, Jalen Milroe, his NIL valuation is $1.3 million. I've seen Shadur Sanders on Amazon gaming ads. I've seen him on KFC commercials with his dad, and it's everywhere. And when you look at with Travis Hunter himself is worth $2.1 million. Now, when you look at also Travis Hunter, he's got some deals with Bleacher Report going right now to where week to week, win or lose, he just does like his own recap of the game and they air it on Bleacher Report's YouTube channel. And he's getting paid for that, win or lose. So, Grayson and I talked about it a bit last night. They've almost made themselves less of a football team of a collective of great players that, can take advantage of their abilities and capitalize and monetize their abilities. And they've become less of a team and more a collection of individuals that are more focused on promoting their personal brand rather than the team's performance on the field. And so that's what I think Colorado has become since week 1 of the college football season. Everybody was kind of riding high. They were an exciting team to watch. They had all the celebrities coming on the sidelines to watch the games, but I think we could consider them the biggest derailment of this season. Yeah. Now play my theme music.
Okay, let's move on to let's go ahead and do yours, Kyle, because I feel like yours is pretty valid as well in terms of like derailed.
Yeah, so I went with USC. No vendetta there, I promise. They came into the season ranked number 6 preseason, and they started off great, and I thought I was going to have to eat my words all year. They went 5-0, and I was like, crap. Then Notre Dame beat them. Crap. And then Notre Dame beat them, and it just fell apart. Defense could never figure it out. Lincoln Riley's never been known for defensive players. I mean, look back at his Oklahoma days, but it's really bad. He only has 3 players on his teams right now with 4 or more sacks. That is a horrendous defensive stat right there. And then you look at Caleb Williams. They were talking. He's going to be the Heisman. He's going to be a runner, 2-time repeat Heisman. He might not even get invited to the ceremony. In fact, I think he started playing so bad after Notre Dame. I think he's fallen from the number 1 pick in the draft to maybe number 3. And it just goes back to his team playing. The receivers dropping the ball on him just overthrowing people, the interceptions. And, Nick, I see you, man.
He's the 2nd, not 3rd.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was gearing up to ask. I hate
the Patriots are going to be taking Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Well, I think it goes off the draft order. I think it's going to...
So the Patriots will be taking...
I think Giants, Chicago, Patriots. And I don't think Giants are going to... not Giants, I'm sorry, the Panthers. And I don't think the Panthers are going to get a...
The Panthers pick is the Bears.
Oh, yeah. So
yeah.
You're looking at...
So right now, the Bears and then the Patriots.
You
Anyways, I'll let you finish.
Either way, he was coming into the season as a guaranteed number 1 draft pick. I don't think so anymore. And but this goes off the whole team itself. They were talking like they were going to win the Pac-12, come into a strong Pac-12, and they've lost to teams they shouldn't. UCLA, they say Brian Kelly's job for him. And an embarrassing loss they had. Utah, they should not have lost with Cam Rising out. He'll be back one day. But it was an embarrassing season for him. And next year's going to be worse. They're going into the Big Ten with even better defenses. They're losing Caleb Williams. And they still probably aren't going to recruit for defense again. I think this is a very big downward spiral for him. And I think Lincoln Riley might be out within 3 years. And this is the start of it.
Yeah. Well, I guess that'll move on to I'm going to go with mine real quick. And this is a team that I've kind of been low on for the past, really all season. Like I kind of was saying in the beginning that I thought they were overhyped and not up to par of what everybody was kind of giving them credit to be. But Tennessee, I have not been high on Tennessee all year, and I'll start it off with this. For Joe Milton to have been the prospect that he was supposed to be all year, with the cannon of an arm and being just a freak athlete, the whole 9 yards, yada yada yada. He's going to be the successor to Hendon Hooker, the whole nine, and to play the way he did, and not only to play the way they did, but for them to having to rely on their rushing game as much as they did, when you're supposed to have a gunslinger, potentially better than Hendon Hooker, the guy that was just there, and him not perform the way he was supposed to perform. I think that says a lot, not only about this year, but Tennessee in general. It's Tennessee not living up to their standards. That's realistically what it is. But that's the nature of Tennessee. Like, whoop-de-doo, they beat Vanderbilt 48-24. Who doesn't beat Vanderbilt 48-24? But when they lose to Florida in the Swamp, they lost to Bama, they lost to Missouri. And then they lost to Georgia too. Obviously, Georgia is, it's Georgia. Bama, they're going to be the SEC West contender. Okay, there's 2 losses can expect, right? But to a struggling Florida team this year, granted, I know it was in the Swamp. Like, give them credit where credit's due. But yes, you did. But on top of everything, to get beat 36-7 against Missouri says a lot between the difference in the top 2 teams in the SEC East and then the bottom. So, and like I said, they were able to run the ball, except for this Missouri game where they only had 70, 80 yards, where they were averaging close to 200 in the first 4 or 5 games. But then they only had 267 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception from Joe Milton. I just don't. Like I said, I was never high on them. I don't necessarily hate Heupel as a coach. I did think he was overrated coming from UCF because he was using a lot of recruits that weren't his at UCF before he went up to Tennessee, and he had just rode that out. But in the same token, I'm not as low on him as I originally was, but I still don't think I think Tennessee with Josh Heupel, I think this is going to be a perfect analogy. I think Tennessee with Josh Heupel is the SEC East version of Ole Miss right now, currently with Lane Kiffin. I think you're not going to get any better than 10-2. Obviously with Georgia on that side, that's going to be 1 loss until Georgia starts going downhill. But if they continue to play Bama, if Missouri still plays up the standard, if Florida ever gets back up there, I think Tennessee will be consistent, but they will be consistently 9-3, 10-2, and that's all they're going to do. They're going to
Ole Miss.
That's exactly. They're going to be the SEC East version of Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, and that's all you're going to get out of them. Nothing more, nothing less.
Would you like to hear a fun fact? Joe
Yeah.
Milton, including this year, has 3 years of eligibility left
Oh my God.
What?
because
COVID
of
year.
injury and COVID year and red shirt. He still has 3 years left. I still think he's going to be the Anthony Richardson. Some team's going to draft him his last year.
Mhm.
That just based on size and arm strength alone, that they're going to pick him up as a developmental piece.
27 when you get drafted.
Exactly.
Well,
So,
and again, like, it's not saying anything about how he will be in the NFL because Anthony Richardson showed promise this year with horrific stats at Florida. But as a college quarterback,
yes.
I don't think Joe Milton will never be in a Heisman candidate conversation outside of this past year. He will be in the preseason. Because every year they're going to come back and say, well, Tennessee's got a guy down there that can throw a ball 70 yards from his knee. Well, that's great.
He's having
Jameis Winston
fun.
can do that too. But look
Yep.
what he's doing. He's over there dancing to the sideline of Ludacris, like of the Falcons game to Ludacris, like that's all he's doing. He comes into the Tampa Bay game, first
Saw
play of the
that.
game, and he throws it, and he puts the Tampa Bay defender. Like, thank God he was throwing it Tampa Bay then. Sorry, that was my Jameis rant.
I saw. Never mind. I saw that. He was dancing in Derek Carr's face on the sideline when they just threw the pick six. He was saying, "Move, bitch, get out the way!" Right after he threw the 92-yard pick six.
Derek Carr was contemplating pulling a Chris Benoit when he got home that night, and Jameis Winston is sitting there acting like he is at a middle school dance, singing every lyric to get out of the way.
Hey man, you good?
You can take the boy out of Birmingham, but you can't take Birmingham out of the boy.
Cameron didn't get that one there.
Well, I saw it.
All right. Well, Nick.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I want BB to go last. So it's all you. Floor is yours.
Man, I love when things come full circle. So, Kyle, I have a question for you before.
I'm gonna excuse myself.
Have you rewatched the first episode all the way through since to this day, since it's aired?
I do. I am familiar with the first episode.
With what you
yes.
said? Because I've got 3 quotes about South Carolina Cox.
Yes, I am familiar with
Cool.
those 3 quotes.
All right. So I'm going to wait to give the quotes till after. South Carolina, they're 5-7. Second to last in the East. And the East is pretty bad. So they have won 3 SEC games, and they won the 2 non-SEC teams was Furman and Jacksonville State.
And I struggled with that one.
Mississippi, yeah. What was it? They beat Furman 47-21 and Jacksonville State 38-28. And that was a game until the fourth quarter. Yes, they've beaten Mississippi State, Vandy, and Kentucky. Kentucky's the only SEC team that's like, wow, but they also went on like a 4-game losing streak. So Spencer Rattler had an okay year. He had 3,100 yards passing, which, that's good. 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But I want to talk about Beamer Ball since we're so high on them, Kyle. Beamer Ball has done a pretty good job recruiting. I'd agree. This last year, they were 16th best. In 2022, they were 24th best. And when he first got hired, he put them in the top 50. So, yeah, he's been recruiting pretty well. Where has it been? Because where the fuck have these players been playing? Because this is his first recruits are seniors now. They're 5-7. Why are they not, if you give a coach time, like everybody says, like, oh, you got to give them time. If they go 5-7 their first year, you better watch out because, that's when, coaches are fired because they didn't give them time to, get their players in. Well, all the players are yours, Beamer. And you're still shit. Defense is allowing 26 yards a game or 26 points a game, 406 yards a game. They're allowing 50% on third down conversions.
Ooh.
That is 107th in college football. They are only completing 30% of third down conversions. That is 119th in college football.
Hell, Kyle can't even count that high.
Exactly. They have the worst sack percentage in Power 5. But it's okay because South Carolina is going to be a top 3 in the SEC. Spencer Rattler is going to be a top 5 quarterback at the end of this year. Spencer Rattler is going to be top 3, if not outright Heisman. And South Carolina's, they have a good shot at beating Georgia. Those are all quotes from Kyle.
Well, shit, Nick, I was drunk when I said that.
It was episode 1. You were just nervous, bitch. You were not. No, you were sober and you said all of that outright. And I told you from the very beginning, I said, Beamer ball is not, I don't even know what said about the Beamer ball. You made some pun about them, but yeah, no.
Beamer ball, baby.
Beamer ball. Show me my ball. So yeah, they're not. No, South Carolina sucks. They will always suck. They're a bottom tier team. So that's my derailed team.
I don't take back anything I said.
I know you don't. You're still wearing a Wisconsin shirt.
Yeah, and I wear it with pride, baby.
We almost had Indiana.
Hey, man, we got the Axe back. We're 7-5. First year of Fickle. I'm happy with that. The
what back?
The Axe.
The Minnesota
It's their
Wisconsin
stupid rivalry thing.
Oldest rivalry in the
They
game.
got the ass back.
Yeah, no, but coming in from the last season, they were hot. They were winning, and they just looked like a great football team. They did. Their last 3 games of the season, especially that upset with Clemson. I mean, I thought they were going to come in good. I thought Spencer
Yeah, I definitely think
had
there's
to
more
figure it out.
egregious takes made episode 1.
I don't think so. We had some pretty bad ones.
That was 4
yeah,
alone from you.
Well, I thought Spencer would figure it out and all that, but yeah, I was wrong.
I agree.
Yeah.
I concur.
Hey, but you know what, Nick? Next year, baby.
Oh shit! I cannot wait for the outrageous
Right,
take.
so episode 14 is when we'll refer back to this.
Yes, write that down.
They might be better without Spencer there. So
I also want Kyle to go on record saying, I want us to revisit, if we do some sort of draft special or something, I want to revisit him saying that Caleb Williams is not going to be a first round draft pick.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean first round. I meant first pick, and I apologize about that. Yeah. Because he was
hold your feet to the fire, man.
My bad. No, he was predicted first. Pick of the draft.
No, he wasn't getting his feet held to the fire. We were just throwing him straight into the furnace at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, quarterback shouldn't even be taken after the 3rd round if you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, who's Brock Purdy?
God. All right. Well, finally, we get to BB, and BB, I know yours is going to hit a little close to home, but why don't you go ahead with your derail hype train?
So as the resident, I guess group of 5 expert, BB. My derail team is South Alabama. Preseason they had aspirations of New Year's Six bowl, and on every beat writer's website, I've seen them 10-2, 10 or 11-1, and I'm like, for the first 3 games we're playing Tulane and Oklahoma State. So I was like, okay, I'm here. Racing's queer. Let's get going. But 12 games
Did you
later,
just say that to rhyme?
yeah, I did. That was cool. That was
That
clean,
was
wasn't
cool,
it?
but we're gonna have to cut it.
Nah.
But
Dumbass.
anyways, so I don't know if I've ever watched a full 12 game season and don't know if we're good or not. Because there's a chance that South beat the Big 12 champion by 30 points at their place. Granted, that chance is very slim, and that probably is not going to happen. But there's a world out there where that could happen. But I think the biggest issue this past year was the injuries and the defense being so just hit or miss.
Well, wouldn't you say the offensive line was hit or miss too?
Yeah, but I mean, when our bread and butter last year was our defense, and when you return 20 out of 22 starters, and then you have a guy named Yam, you can catch the ball with one hand. You know, like you that I had higher expectations for the defense than I did for the offense.
That's sweet, man.
Odell.
Man, look, I love me some Yam Banks, but even Yam Banks has been abysmal this year. And like, you have like, granted, Southern Miss is not great, but I mean, we beat them by 56 to what, 6 or 3, what it was, and then same thing with ULM and
3.
even Marshall. Marshall, they were getting some love preseason too, and when you beat them 20-0, and then go to Texas State and you blink and you're down 28-3 in the first 7 minutes of the game, just not great. Offensively, I agree. Nick said this when we were during our alumni event that Carter Bradley's, I think, does too much, tries to do too much, and always fumbles the ball, especially in that 4-game stretch with Lafayette and I can't remember who else we're playing, but also Major Applewhite. I know you have been ready for this take. He has to go because like he does not know how to call. He calls every game like he's up by 14, like every play. It's halfback power, Tom screen, punt, unless Colin Lacey or somebody can make something out of nothing. And what really is like concerning for me is that I'm pretty sure he's the one that recruited Gio Lopez to South, and Gio Lopez looks like he's going to be a guy. And 4 years eligibility left. I don't think he can call an offense for him to be successful. I haven't seen it just the 4 years he's been here, 3 years he's been here. You know, he calls like more a pocket passer when we have like I wouldn't say Milrow-esque quarterback where he can hurt you on the run. But I don't really know. And also this is something I noticed too. We went for 2 when a field goal would have brought within 7. That lost us the game. And I immediately harped on last year when we were playing UCLA, and we decided to put the game on the line with Diego Yarello, whatever the fuck his name is, to throw a pass at UCLA. I don't know. Like, I don't know who's Cole in special teams plays, but what the fuck? Like, I just want to know. Like, I wish there was like a, like in hockey when they did like the play the locker room interviews. They needed to have that for coaches to say like, well, why did you call this? Because I can't fathom the possibility of what the answer would be. That would make sense for me.
Yeah,
I think
and also the one last thing, we wouldn't be bowl eligible if there was more bowl eligible teams, because one of our 6 wins was against the FCS school, so that puts us at the very bottom of the bowl eligibility list.
True. Well, and the thing is too is like, we called it the derailed hype train segment, but really this has just been a roller coaster
because I don't even know if we're good or not.
Yeah,
because we beat Oklahoma State by 30 and then lose the homecoming game the next week.
With Central Michigan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like we lost to Tulane, and that
was kind
of that score. The end of the game was 37-17, but that game was a lot more than 20 points.
Same with James Madison.
Yes, Southeast Louisiana beat OK State at OK State, turned around, lost to Central Michigan by 4, then lost to JMU. But like you said, BB, I mean that game was farther away than.
Well, I mean that's a tall ask, even if we were the team we thought we were going to be.
Yeah.
Two James Madison beat them.
And then the next 2 games after James Madison, we outscored our opponents 110-10 with UL Monroe and Southern Miss. Then we lose at home to Lafayette. We lose to Troy. Then we beat Arkansas State. We shut out Marshall, and then we lose a
Desmond Trotter. Man, like I don't know how it was like the magic was in the sky for him to win that game, and the defense said, "Who the fuck you are?"
I'm Ozzie Newsom's nephew.
We ain't helping out Desmond Deep Throw, are we?
No, the one time in his career he plays good, like was lights out. Defense
Let's see.
You and everything you stand for.
I mean, Desmond had
he had one pick, but
216 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception.
And
he went
I'm pretty sure in a half.
For 21
and a half.
Yeah, Carter Bradley threw 3 more passes than him, had 183 yards, so 30 yards less, and 2 less touchdowns. And he got sacked 1 more time.
And the one interception that Trotter did throw was just dumb. He was throwing it out of bounds. He threw it like 10 feet past the receiver, then the free safety came out of nowhere and caught it as it went out of bounds. But
yeah,
I don't know. And then in the recruits are kind of like we lost like 3 big recruits the past 4 weeks, but 2 of them that they weren't thinking they were actually going to keep them.
Yeah. So we'll go down along right quick just to sum this all up. Out of what everybody just heard, starting with Kyle, who is the most overhyped team this year that got derailed? Kyle?
I'm gonna have to go with Colorado. I just think off the media hype itself. They after that TCU game, I mean, ESPN, Fox, everybody was just running it. I mean, they went to game day, went to the game against Colorado State, which was just a terrible. I mean, Colorado State, why is a terrible.
It should have been 2 weeks ago, before or after that.
Yeah, and they got so hyped, and when you start seeing these commercials, like Caleb said, and it just got so out of hand, and then they got put into reality.
Yeah, Caleb.
So I know I made my case for Colorado, and the only thing of all everybody else's cases, the only thing that keeps me from deciding on Colorado is just because the public opinion on that team really kind of changed on a dime after the first 2 games of that season. It wasn't like going into the first game, it was uncertainty. That was the word people were saying about Colorado. So the hype more came in season, at least from the way I was watching college football. So in that case, like thinking about of all these teams that we've talked about being overhyped, I honestly have to say it would be South Alabama in proportion to how much was actually coming out on them. Because like BB said, all the tear sheets, all of everything was saying South Alabama, one of the headlines I was seeing over and over again, South Alabama is returning more players than any other Sun Belt school.
Almost, I think, any other school in the country.
Yeah, it just
20 out of 22.
Yeah, and with their season, their previous season being relatively good, best in program history, and you're returning all the same players. You do the math, and going into the season, I don't think anyone expected South Alabama to be as abysmal as they've been.
Yeah. BB?
I'm actually going to go with Tennessee because, I mean, in about June, July, when all the media days were happening, everybody was saying that Colorado was going to be at best 4-8. And then I think they're over. It wouldn't them being overhyped. I think people overreacted to them beating TCU because TCU was in the national championship game last year.
Yeah.
So, but everybody, I feel like Tennessee was actually overhyped. There was, for some reason, why even I was part of it. I was with them. That
Me too.
I mean, Joe Milton came to Tennessee because he couldn't win the job at Michigan, and Michigan's quarterback doesn't really, you know,
Doesn't really
sorry,
wow
there's people
you.
yelling in my house off the brand contract. But anyways, yeah,
Are
definitely
they in the
Tennessee.
basement?
Yeah, my Gorbals are coming out.
Yeah, you forgot to tape that one's mouth shut.
Yeah,
Those
so
damn
loud.
kids.
I'm sorry, guys.
Anyways, Nick.
I would probably say Colorado because BB said they were a playoff team after one win.
I was an overreaction, not an overhype.
Goes back to what I said in the group message, how BB has these convoluted ideas that he talks himself into. Yeah.
Or one of us just makes
Look,
one
I'm sorry.
comment.
I'm sorry. I
Oh,
have an
man.
imagination, and I like fantasy.
Yeah, that's
No, like one of us was like, wow, Colorado looks a little bit better than we thought. All right, I'm putting them in my 6 for the first 2 out.
And to be fair, I don't think we had a whole segment dedicated to just Colorado. Like I think we spent at least 10 to 15 minutes talking about Colorado alone earlier this season.
I mean,
Kyle
those
took
those
15
first two
minutes
games,
alone.
they looked like they could have been competitive with USC. Maybe not
Yeah.
Oregon. Oregon had a defense, but
Everything shifted when Oregon dog walked them.
yes,
Everything shifted when Oregon dog walked them. That was when everybody was like, "Yeah,
well, I don't.
Colorado's
Not even
fraud."
that. I think that was so demoralizing for them. It changed their season completely.
Yeah,
You remember the average good, average great, and elite tier thing we did?
yeah.
They found out that week how it is to be an average to good tier team, and then what it takes to be an elite team. That was it.
That's exactly what they found
Preferably
out.
when you have somebody like actual defensive line over 250 pounds.
Yeah.
But hey, win, lose, or draw, Travis Hunter's getting paid to talk about it. So, yeah.
And they are in a better situation, infinitely better situation than they were last year.
For sure.
Yeah, they
Deion
went from
Sanders
a
has had a
one-conference-
positive impact.
They went from a 1 conference team win to a 1 conference team win. Woo!
But they really only won one conference game this year?
Yes.
Damn. At least they
Who
won more
was
than
that one
game.
conference team? Who was that one conference team win?
Colorado State.
No, Colorado State's not in.
not.
Okay,
Right.
so
They did
Piece of
Stanford.
shit, Nick.
Colorado
Wow.
State, I think Midwest in the Midwest Conference.
They're in Mountain West.
Mountain West, yeah.
I
Mountain
Hold
West.
on.
I don't know. They're all never mind.
They're all horrible.
Washington State.
Arizona
maybe?
State.
Arizona
Stanford.
State?
Oh, it was Arizona
Yeah.
State? Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
Arizona
Stanford, they had
State.
like the 50-0 lead at halftime. They went to sleep. They lost.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
other 3 teams they beat was TCU, Nebraska, and Colorado State. Well, for me to sum it all up, honestly, I think the most overhyped team this year, in my opinion, was USC. Just because, again, kind of going back to what we were talking about, they kind of found out the difference between a good team and an elite team when they played Washington and when they played Oregon. They got into shootouts with these teams, but I think that they got so much hype behind Caleb Williams being a quote unquote generational talent, which is funny. That term is being used every single year now. So it's not like I guess a generation is now just year to year. But when they go out and you look at their schedule and they beat San Jose State, they beat Nevada, they beat Stanford, they beat Arizona State, the team that Colorado beat, then they beat Colorado. And then they went to 3 overtime win against Arizona. And then from there, got beat by Notre Dame, got beat by a Cam Rising-less Utah. They beat Cal 50-49. Congrats. They got they didn't get skull drugged by Washington, but they got beat by Washington, beat by Oregon, and then they got beat by UCLA. I think the hype is not there. Caleb Williams may be a great NFL quarterback. Honestly, he was still putting up numbers during those games, which is fantastic for him. But as a team, as a unit, Caleb Williams may not have been overhyped, but as a unit, USC definitely was overhyped.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Grayson. One of the best examples of a quarterback going on to have a phenomenal career in the NFL after having an abysmal last season in college is John Elway.
Mm-hmm.
John Elway statistically looked beautiful. He was undisputed the first overall pick going into I believe is the 1983 draft, and he only won 3 games that entire season at Stanford. So I agree with you. I don't think this season is so much an indictment on Caleb Williams, but USC was definitely overhyped.
Yeah. Well, moving on, we're going to get into our NFL game picks. So this week we were just over 500 again. We were at 51% for the year. So Kyle is at 28 and 32. Caleb is at 29 and 31. Nick is at 36 and 24. BB is at 25 and 35. And I am at 35 and 25. Yeah, BB, you got some catching up to do, brother. Our games this week are San Francisco versus Philadelphia, Denver versus Houston, like we mentioned earlier, Kansas City versus Green Bay, Cleveland at the Rams, and then our good old Dirty Birds here in Atlanta versus the Jets. So starting with Kyle, let's go through our picks real quick.
We
here,
got
Kyle.
the whiteboard.
No, I completely forgot to do it.
No worries. We're good. I was just making sure.
Well, how would I know who I picked?
Well,
look at your
better have good memory.
Kyle,
you are muted.
My bad.
Oh shoot!
I got yelled at for not being muted enough, man. Dang. Well, I got San Fran beating Philly though. Philly's coming off 2 pretty rough games there. I think they're a little beat up coming into this game, and I think San Fran's defense is gonna give Hurts a problem.
Okay, who do you have for Denver versus Houston?
Oh, sorry. We thought we were going college format. Denver, they're really hot right now. I think they keep it going. And then Kansas City and Green Bay, got to go with the cheese. Give me Green Bay in that one. And then Cleveland and the Rams, I got the Rams. I just think with Deshaun still out, yeah, they're not going to be able to do it. And then later at the Jets, I think the Jets defense is going to be too much for that shitty QB they got in Atlanta right now.
Hey, first place shitty QB. Bitch.
Oh, what a terrible division.
I know. Who would have
Hey.
thunk?
You know, we're going to the playoffs at this point. Maybe not in the
Yes.
future.
So did the Carolina
As of
Panthers
right
at, like,
now.
7 and 8 or whatever it was when they had a losing.
Wait,
record.
don't like the division champs host the playoff game.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Yes.
cannot wait for a fucking 5-14.
Well, I don't know. I think
And
it
the
depends on how
Falcons.
it lays out. Actually,
No, first round they would be the 4 seed.
They'll host a wild card.
They would host a wild card. They would host the 5.
Host a
So I
13
don't.
and 1, 2.
While we're talking about this, let me see if I can pull up the standings because I would love to see who the Falcons are going to play first round. If it was,
I really hope it's like
I hope it's Green Bay again.
Cowboys. It's probably the Cowboys.
let's see. So the first, let's see. There's the AFC. Let me go down to the NFC. So it would the Vikings. Yeah, it'd probably be either the Vikings or the Seahawks. Oh,
It would be the Cowboys.
No, it would be the Cowboys.
Oh
my God.
my god!
So I need every NFC South team just to tie. And tie when you play each other and just lose, so we could have a 5 and 8 team host a 13 and 3 team in a playoff game.
Yeah. Well, BB, since you won't shut the hell up, why don't you go with your picks?
All right. Give me Nick Bosa and the San Francisco.
Why Nick
49ers.
Bosa?
Huh?
Why Nick Bosa?
He seems like a cool guy. That's funny. Give me
Made me
give me
giggle.
Stroud boy CJ Stroud over Denver. I'm riding with
You
him.
have little one-liners for every pick you got.
That's why it's taking so long.
He's been doing it for the past
Like,
3 weeks.
Yeah. Give me Kansas City over Green Bay because Kyle. I agree with Kyle's pick, but the Rams probably beat Cleveland and give me Atlanta because same idea thought as last week. You can't prepare for a quarterback when they don't know who they're starting.
All right. Caleb.
Yeah, I'm gonna take San Francisco. Calling back to the Dallas Cowboys Philadelphia Eagles game. The Eagles, they struggled against a really highly capable defense, and I think San Francisco has the next up capable defense of the NFC next to the Eagles. And on top of that, I feel like I would trust a Kyle Shanahan offense over the Dallas Cowboys. So if the Cowboys manage to squeak out a win against the Eagles, I think the 49ers are going to be able to do it. So I'm taking the 49ers against the Eagles. I'm taking the Texans. I feel like CJ Stroud is
Boys.
yeah. Stroud boys. CJ Stroud's tearing it up. And I think the Texans are going to win pretty easily. For Kansas City, I have Kansas City winning. My God, BB. Somebody just dial back in.
I don't know.
I don't know. Just keep going.
What the f is going
Get the
on?
Zoom called right now.
Okay, so I got
Go.
So I'm gonna run through it from the top real quick. So San Francisco, I'm taking San Francisco versus Philadelphia. I think San Francisco fares better than the Cowboys, and they come away with the win. I'm taking Houston versus Denver. I know Denver's hot, but Houston has been consistent, and I don't think that's going to change. I'm taking Kansas City versus Green Bay. I know Green Bay has started to play a lot better, but I feel like Kansas City is just too much for Green Bay to handle. Cleveland versus the LA Rams. I'm actually taking the LA Rams. LA Rams, I just don't see them. They're gonna win a couple of games that are gonna be questionable. And I think this is gonna be one of those games before the season's up. So taking the LA Rams versus Cleveland. And Atlanta versus the Jets. As much as I hate to say it, I'm gonna have to take the Atlanta Falcons.
Good answer, Steve.
Nick, please find a way to splice in the Stroud Boys thing. Please do it.
That
Don't
broke
let us
my
lose.
concentration.
Don't let us lose our content.
Ever since I saw Big Cat say it, that's all I've been thinking about.
Stroud
So I think of
Boys.
Houston Texans. I just think of them saying Stroud Boys.
Nick, your picks.
Yeah. God, San Francisco will outright win by 10 points against Philly. Houston's gonna beat Denver because I know Denver's hot, but Houston has a good way of shutting down hot teams. Kansas City is going to beat Green Bay because Green Bay is a shit team and Kansas City is a little bit better than a shit team. Rams are going to beat Cleveland because the Rams have finally figured out a little bit on offense. Plus, they have Kyron Williams back. So that's kind of helping out. And Matt Stafford just threw 4 touchdowns. So that's pretty solid that he's healthy again. And then lastly, I've got the Jets beating the Falcons because every time the Falcons win a good game, they're like, oh, we're turning our luck. And then they lose the next 2. So, yeah, that's
8-9, baby. It's picking 10th overall.
That's back-to-back crappy quarterback play from an Atlanta game. Between Zach Wilson and Desmond Ridder, you go from Derek Carr to Desmond Ridder.
God, yeah.
I'm seriously. I think they should try to trade for Mac Jones.
Okay, well, we're not going to get into that. No BB conspiracy theories today. Not on my watch.
Why the fuck would you?
It's not Mac Jones's fault.
Never mind. We are having this conversation. No, continue, Kyle. Continue.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Why would you go for a shitty BB?
Oh, we're still on Mac Jones.
Why would you say something so stupid, BB?
I mean, why not? It can't be any worse.
I hate you.
The definition of sanity is doing something over and over again, expecting a different result. So why don't we keep on starting Desmond Ridder?
To be honest, I don't
This
know
week
if
will be good.
I don't know if I would want to see Mac Jones in Atlanta playing quarterback, but I damn sure love to see him try to return a punt.
Like Desmond Ridder's gonna be there next week.
All right. I will get on with my picks. I'm going to pick Philadelphia. I have no reason to pick against Philadelphia. I also think Dalton would publicly execute me if I picked against him. So Philadelphia. I'm actually going to take Denver against Houston. I think Denver's hot, man. I think Denver's hot. I think their defense is playing well. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I think that just with the momentum that they have right now, I think they're going to squeak out a win against Houston. Kansas City, Green Bay, Kansas City for obvious reasons. Cleveland versus the Rams. I'm going to pick Cleveland because what I'm seeing right now with the Rams is a little bit of inconsistency. Yes, they had a great game against the Cardinals, but if you look back last week or the week before, I'm sorry, against Seattle, they won 17-16, lost 17-16. Let's see, what was it? They won 17-16. So Cleveland's got a decent defense. I think the big thing is going to be if they're going to be able to score touchdowns or not, be realistically. But I think Cleveland squeaks out a win. And then Atlanta versus the Jets. Give me Atlanta. I think Atlanta has more things figured out in terms of the complete team than the Jets do. They're actually very similar if you look at it. I mean, they've got decent running backs. They've got like one or two receivers that are pretty good, like Garrett Wilson on one side, Drake London on the other. So I think that Atlanta, just because they kind of have a better plan, I think Atlanta squeaks out the win. Pause here. Kyle, are you okay?
Yeah.
Please leave it in. Please
Yeah,
that
yeah,
in.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Going to college football. We did not do good in college football this week, be honest with you. I think we went 15 for 25. And we're 67.6 for the year. Kyle's at 39 and 27. Caleb's at 43 and 23. Nick's at 48 and 18. BB's at 43 and 23. And then I'm at 50 and 16. I have hit the half-century mark. So this week in college football, we've got championship games. We got the easiest thing for us to do is pick the Power 5 championship games. So we've got Michigan versus the juggernaut Iowa, Louisville versus Florida State. Probably the second best game of the week is going to be Georgia and Bama in some people's eyes. I'll get to that here in a second. OK State versus Texas, and then Oregon versus Washington. So let's start again with Kyle, and let's go through the Michigan and Iowa pick.
Yeah, so I love this game because Nick has to watch Iowa football, and it's perfect.
No, I don't.
But give me Michigan. Oh, no, you're going to be watching it. You're going to be watching it with a smile on your face.
Championship game.
Hey, I'm just saying I'm a little disappointed that Iowa's punter is not in the Heisman conversation. I'm just saying. But
top 10 pick, baby.
Yeah. Caleb, your pick for this game?
I'm taking Michigan big for very obvious reasons. So yeah, Michigan big in the Big Ten. Iowa they're not going to.
Yeah. Nick?
Michigan, and they're going to score 21 in the first quarter, and that's when I can
hit
turn
the
it
over.
off. Yep.
BB?
Yeah, Michigan.
Okay, I'm picking Michigan as well. Louisville and Florida State. Let's start with you, Nick.
Okay, Louisville still. I know they're coming off the loss, and so I think that loss honestly helps them because they have no pressure going into this game.
Okay, Caleb?
Yeah, I got Louisville as well. They're the only highlight they could strive for at this point beyond, going to just a bowl game is winning the ACC championship. That's still up for grabs for them. I think that's extra motivation for them. Like Nick said, no real national bearing, so you don't got that pressure working against your focus on winning the conference championship.
Okay. BB.
I'm gonna go Florida State. I think them not playing in the swamp, the hostile environment, I think they'll play a lot better. And I think they'll win.
Okay. Kyle.
Yeah, I got Louisville. You know, Florida State's whole offense with their QB being hurt, it's not the same. So I think Louisville capitalizes on that and takes the win.
So I'm actually going to pick Florida State here. I think they get a safe win. I don't think they just outright dominate Louisville. I thought at this stage in the game for them without Jordan Travis right now. The big thing is it's not the fact that I think. I mean, it remains to be seen from the new quarterback. You know, like he's only played really a 1.5 game, I guess. So it's hard to get an idea. But they are still going to have to work through some kinks with a new quarterback. But that being said, I think they call conservative against Louisville and they get a safe win. They're not going to go deep. Keon Coleman's not going to have 175 yards receiving. Like it's going to be a very, very honestly, it might be a boring game to watch, but I think Florida State gets a safe win. SEC championship game. Georgia versus Alabama. Let's start with Caleb on this one.
I am picking Alabama to win a game that they should not win. Partially because I think it has the most bearing on making the college football playoff more interesting, whether or not it does kick the SEC completely out of it if they win. And I think one thing that Auburn had to their advantage in playing the Iron Bowl.
Swag surf.
What?
The swag surf.
The swag surf.
Sure.
But yeah, I would say other than just the general voodoo that just gravitates around Jordan-Hare, I think that the Alabama football team has been looking towards Georgia and game prepping for Georgia, you know, on and off for the past 2 weeks at least. So I'm thinking this is going to be a far more interesting game. I don't expect to see Alabama just get skull drug. And I'm picking Alabama to win this game. I think that this team has come a very long way from the Texas game. Now, Georgia's a juggernaut, but this is by far, and I don't think anyone on this podcast would debate it, this is going to be the best team that Georgia's played all year. So,
okay. Let's go with BB.
I'm leaning Georgia because I feel like Bama's going to make a mistake trying to create explosive plays. And that's going to cost them in the end. But I am starting to lean towards Alabama as I think about it more, so I need to stop talking. Georgia.
Idea. Kyle.
Yeah, both these teams coming off horrible wins. You know, Alabama should have skull dragged Auburn by a lot. Skull drug, whatever. Evan, you look at Georgia only beating Georgia Tech by 8 points. That's another one that should have been at least.
That was a narrow one.
Yeah, but was those 10 points the fourth quarter scored at garbage time?
No, well you got to think, BB. Georgia Tech led the whole first quarter. I mean it.
Well, there's 3 other quarters, Kyle.
I know, but as that Georgia team,
statistically Georgia is one of the worst first quarter teams.
Yeah, but Georgia should have skull drugged them. Thank you, Nick, for correcting me.
I wasn't correcting, I was making a point.
But coming off like terrible performances, I always think Nick Saban does better the following week. So I think he's going to have the team better prepared, and Alabama's going to beat Georgia on it. Evan, it's going to be so funny watching Alabama fans watch Alabama not get into the playoffs after winning the SEC championship.
I don't think they are unless Washington wins.
Nick.
So I will be taking Alabama's big brother, Georgia, to win by at least 17. I think it's going to be, if Alabama does any of the mistakes that they had in the Alabama Auburn game, Georgia will pounce. Georgia. So you got to think Alabama's coming off not just like an emotional win, but like a last second win. Georgia was up by 16 in the fourth quarter. Yes, they let up the touchdown and the 2-point to cut it to 8, but it wasn't a very like emotional, oh, thank God we won. Whereas Alabama, it was a, last second kind of thing. Emotions were high. And you saw Jalen Milroe coming out of the game screaming, like, give me the Heisman. Like, hold on.
Yeah, slow down, Chief.
Yeah. Like, you should have beaten Auburn by 30. And I don't care about Jordan Hare. Like, I look at 2011 or 2012. I mean, 2011 at Jordan Hare, Auburn lost by like 36 at Jordan Hare. So, I mean, Jordan Hare, yes, I agree that, it's got its voodoo, but only on some years. But Georgia has, I'd say, about a quarter of their starters, the equivalent of NFL rookies. Alabama does not. Alabama's line is terrible. Their receivers, you've got Burton, that's okay. They're not going to stack up well to Georgia.
Yep. That leads to me. I'm also picking Georgia. I see this being a deficit close to what the Texas game was, if not more. If you don't think the SEC championship game in Atlanta is not going to be a home game for Georgia, you are sadly mistaken. Georgia may start off slow, like we talked about, but Georgia has been shown to be a pretty dominant force in college football, not only this year, but for the past 3 years. So give me Georgia in I won't call it a blowout, but it's going to be damn close to it. Next game we got is Oklahoma State and Texas. We all picked Texas, so I'll do like I always do. What would lose Texas this game, guys, against Oklahoma State? Like what's going to be the one main factor that would potentially have Texas blow it?
If they see Alabama lose.
Honestly.
I would tack on if they allow Mike Gundy to do what Mike Gundy does. Mike Gundy has been known to dial up some crazy plays that create points. So I'm sure Mike Gundy's going to put all of his brain power into this game. So that's the only thing I can see with Oklahoma State. It's going to be because of some crazy ass big plays. So cut down on those big plays. I don't think there's a chance that Texas loses.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Cut down the big plays, and realistically, don't let Oklahoma. I mean, this obviously this is going to be like, oh, duh, but don't let Oklahoma State get the ball. Keep the ball, run methodical plays. Don't let them get to where they can make those big game plays, those 30-yard passes, 40-yard passes, or squeak out a 25, 30-yard run. Keep the ball out of their hands. Let them do that, but let them get away with a field goal and just methodically drive it down the field.
Yeah.
And then finally, at probably the biggest game this week, Oregon versus Washington, a matchup we saw this past year, or we've already seen this past season, with Washington coming away in a narrow win. One thing we need to talk about right here before we talk about this is, Michael Penix is potentially hurt because he's.
Yeah. Our anonymous NFL insider pointed that out to us.
Yeah, there are rumors that the reason why he was kind of like secluded himself into one of the storage containers whenever the Washington game was coming to an end this past weekend was because he may or may not have a hand injury. Now that's purely rumor, and I'm gonna do a fact check real quick just to make sure, but it's purely rumor at this point. But he may have an injury to his hand.
Well, you check out or fat or whatever you're doing, and then we'll go ahead and go with picks. So, Nick, let's go with your pick.
So I kind of talked about this earlier. I don't care if the quarterback is Caleb Williams. I don't care if the quarterback is Michael Penis. It does not matter. These kind of matchups, you don't see the team that won in the regular season win again. I think Oregon will outright win. Oregon throughout the season has gotten better, in my opinion, since that Washington loss, whereas Washington, in my opinion, has gotten worse. And I think Oregon is gonna win. I don't think it's going to come down to a last drive. It's going to be close though, but Oregon's going to win.
It may be your last chance to say it this season, Nick.
Michael Penis?
No.
Penis did what?
Will Bo Nix have fun?
Brother, Bo Nix is going to be having fun in the college football playoff because they're about to beat Washington. So I've got plenty more chances to talk about how fun he's having and how the penis injury of Michael Penis won't work.
I concur.
Well, BB, you didn't technically, like, when you sent me your picks earlier, you didn't pick Washington or Oregon. You picked Bo Nix.
Yeah, he's gonna win himself a football game.
Okay. Well, thanks for
He's
that.
He's going to get the first round pick to the nursing home.
No, I think Oregon's playing, like Nick said, infinitely better, improved.
Yeah.
And Bo Nix is having fun.
Well, yeah, I'm picking Oregon as well. I think it's hard to beat a team twice in a year, and I think Oregon's got the momentum. Realistically, they had a chance to win against them earlier this year. So, and I'm picking this result even if Penix is not hurt. I'm picking that Oregon wins this game and again solidifies them in a college football playoff spot. And then Caleb, your pick, and then we'll get to Kyle in a second.
Yeah, so I agree with you wholeheartedly, Grayson, regardless of if these rumors about Penix's hand are true, which I was not able to find anything that validated any of the rumors. But even if his hand is completely fine, Oregon's not going to have any problems at all beating Washington. Like Nick said, completely different team than when we saw them last matchup, and Bo Nix is going to have fun.
And before Kyle says his, at the time, Oregon was good. Like, it wasn't like it wasn't, I won't say it's like an Alabama, Texas ordeal. Oregon was good. They've just gotten better.
All right. Well, that leaves Kyle's pick for this game.
I pick Washington because I live up in the north.
Bo Nix will not be having fun this Saturday. Washington all season after beating Oregon has heard, well, when they get to the Pac-12, Oregon's going to come back and beat that ass because that's just how it is. No, Washington's going to come out there full of emotion and smack them in the mouth. I think Washington wins by 14.
Bold, brother. Bold.
And then they're going to win it all. And I'm going to
Oop?
look at Nick and be like, Pac-12 dominance.
Oh,
when's the last time a Pac-12 has won it?
I don't know.
USC.
has it been that long?
2003.
Jesus.
Kyle, I'm
Pac-12
so
dominance, baby.
Kyle, I am so absolutely shocked that you're not going with the future Big Ten team.
They're both future Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
Washington's going to the Big Ten?
I know, it's weird, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So now I see why there's been so much. That
does make sense.
That makes a lot of sense now.
Pac-12 this year.
Yeah, Kyle's been scouting them motherfuckers. That's why he's
that's
watching them.
exactly what's happening. You're a bad fan.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's why Big Ten or Pac-12 After Dark has been big for Kyle this
I
year.
like how we just put it together in week 12 of college football.
Yeah.
Like, why is Kyle
I-
doing this? They'd be like,
I kind of
He's
thought
a-
it would like be
he's a
clear
thicko.
earlier.
Every
Why do you think
night.
why do you think I talk so much shit about USC? They play in
Every-
Madison next year.
Every night before Kyle goes to bed. Yeah. I don't want to
All right,
continue.
moving
that.
on.
Hey,
to
one more thing,
college
one more
watch.
line to connect here. One more line to connect here. Washington is going to be a Big Ten team, and their logo has a W on it too.
Moving
Let's go.
on to our next segment. We're not going to do an oop this week because there really
We already
aren't.
did it.
Yeah.
One, baby.
But this week we have Kyle's worst watch of the week, and it's going to be it's the game that actually, Kyle, if you would like to explain it, you explain what your reasoning behind what a worst watch is and what it is.
Yeah, Grayson. So this game is a game that you watch if you're an absolute sick person in the head that just hates themselves.
Sicko.
Sicko, baby. Only the weirdest watch this game, including me. So, what I have is the Miami of Ohio versus Toledo. I mean, raise your hand if you watched any of those games this year from either team. Yeah, terrible. Toledo's about to whoop that ass, though, and it's probably going to be like a 35 blowout point kind of game, and I'm going to be there every step of the way, just cheering it on.
You're going to be
And
at
I
the game?
hope-
Holy
No, I'm
Toledo.
there in spirit. Yeah, there in spirit. I hope you're all there too. I hope everyone just is so disgusted at the end of this.
Is
Okay.
Toledo going to the Big Ten too?
Maybe. I mean, shit, we got like, what, 25 now? Something like that?
We?
Yeah, I live here.
All right. Well, that is going to lead us into our final segment, which is upset watch, which we picked from one of the championship games. And we decided that Louisville and Florida State is going to be the upset watch of the week. And I know we kind of talked about it with Jordan Travis being hurt. So let me ask this. What solidifies a Florida State win? Since we talked about all the reasons why Louisville would potentially win, what would solidify Florida State win?
If Louisville plays like they did last week.
possession football.
Yeah. Possession of the football, if they can manage to manifest any of that consistency they had under Jordan Travis, like they'll be fine.
All right. Well, that ends episode 14 of the JEB Board podcast. Everybody make sure you go listen to us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. JEB Board podcast/media. Go follow us on Twitter at JEB Board, Instagram at JEB_board_podcast. Listen to No Dog in the Fight, our fantasy podcast. But other than that, guys, everybody listen at home. Don't get hard counted.